Okay, so this is gonna be a shorter one this time because I just don't have the time to do the full one. It takes much longer if I'm talking the whole time when I'm taking the notes, even though I'm sure it's better for people who haven't seen any of this before to have the full notes. Not that anybody's been watching these, but for somebody to have me doing the full notes, probably better. But I'm just gonna have to summarize it in and of itself because I didn't have time to do it the other way. It would take, and this still took me like an hour and 10 minutes, by the way, which is disgusting. Bandura et al. Is a disgusting, horrible bastard study that takes like 10 years to take notes on. Because look at how big this shit is. Look at this procedure. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, that's results as well, but boom, 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 boom. And results boom, 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 boom. Disgusting. And look at this. You have to know this shit, by the way. You have to know this. If you don't know this, they'll ask you questions about it and you'll just fucking shoot yourself. Just fucking... Okay, sorry. So... real quick, we just go over the brief and then we'll go into the whole thing. So, in Bandura et al. Study, children were exposed to either an aggressive model, a non-aggressive model, or no model. Both male and female models were used in the experiment. The aggressive model would punch or kick a giant inflatable clown called a Bobo doll, while the non-aggressive model would play quietly. The children were then all made equally frustrated before being moved to a new setting with toys, where their subsequent behavior was observed. As expected, the highest level of aggression was seen in boys who had been exposed to an aggressive male model. Males were more likely to imitate a physical aggression, while females were more likely to imitate verbal aggression, only slightly. Many of these aggressive behaviors were identical to the model. Furthermore, many non-aggressive actions of the model were also imitated. Cool. Let's go on to the real thing. So, Bender et al. Aggression. If you want to read this as well. Aims. To investigate whether children imitate aggression of a model in the absence of said model. And also to investigate whether children are more likely to imitate the behavior of a same-sex model. Research methodology. Participants observed an aggressive model, non-aggressive model, or no model. So this is the three different groups. In a controlled setting, and subsequent behavior was observed via a one-way mirror. It was a covert, structured, and controlled observation. There was 8 experimental groups and 1 control group. Started out with a 72 kid sample with an even gender split, 36-36. 24 kids were in the aggressive group, so 12 and 12 of each thing. So, of each gender. So, 24 kids in the aggressive group, 24 in the non-aggressive group, and 24 in the control group. In the aggressive group, there's 12 males, and 6 of them saw a male model, while 6 of them saw a female model. Both of these, models, all these models are aggressive. Aggressive models is the aggressive group. And then 12 females in the aggressive group saw 6 of them saw the aggressive male model, and 6 of them saw the aggressive female model. Then in the non-aggressive group, same as the aggressive group. What the fuck is that? And then in the control group, 12 males and 12 females all saw no model. The participants were matched on prior age levels. They were rated by their nursery teacher and by an experimenter on a 4 or 5 point scales rating different types of aggression. And based on the scores, the participants were split into 3 groups, and from those 3 groups, they were randomly allocated to the actual 3, or 4, I guess. To the actual 3 groups: the aggressive group, non-aggressive group, and control group, to ensure the equal distribution of different aggression levels. Right. Sample 72 kids from Stanford University Nursery. That's a crazy line. 36 gender split, 72 kids, and the mean age was 52 months, so pretty young kids. Procedure. The experimental groups, the participant would be brought into a room full of toys, seated at a table, and shown how to make potato prints and use stickers. They are then taken to the other corner of the room and shown Tinker Toys, a mallet, and a Bobo doll. Then they left the room. After this, for the aggressive group, they watched the model play with the Tinker Toys for a minute. Tinker Toys are like construction toys. They play with the Tinker Toys for a minute, and then the model would focus on the ball, on the dodo ball, on the Bobo doll for the remaining 9 minutes. The same actions were always performed in the same sequence of punching it, hitting it with the mallet, throwing it in the air, kicking it, and verbal aggression throughout. The model then came back and told the participant they were being taken into a game room. For the non-aggressive group, after the initial thing for all the experimental groups, they watched the model play with Tinker Toys for the whole time calmly and ignore the Bobo doll. The model then came back and said the same thing as said over here. Then, of course, the control group didn't get any of this. Then there was the aggression arousal part of the procedure, where before the test for delayed imitation, they were taken to a game room with lots of attractive toys. As said here, they're being taken to a game room with lots of attractive toys. But once the participants would finally get engaged with the toys, they were then told that they couldn't play with them and that they were reserved for other kids. The participant was then taken to the experimental room at an equal. What I mean by this, at equal levels of frustration, is that this whole thing, this aggression arousal thing, was made to get every kid to an equal level of frustration before the test for delayed imitation. And this is, of course, individually done for each participant. Then, test for delayed imitation. The experimental room had many toys, including those in the model room, Bobo doll, mallet, etc., and tea-set crayons and paper dolls, etc. All toys were in fixed positions, and the participant spent 20 minutes in this room. They were observed via a one-way mirror with a behavioral checklist, and the behaviors recorded every 5 seconds. Response measures. Oh, where'd I go? So response measures. So how they measure the responses. One was imitation of physical aggression, hitting Bobo with a mallet, sitting on the doll and punching nose, etc. So all of these imitation ones are things that they did that are exactly what the model was doing that they watched. So imitation of physical aggression, hitting Bobo with mallet, sitting on doll and punching nose, etc. Imitation of verbal aggression, kick him, etc. And imitative non-aggressive verbal responses. He sure is a tough fella, etc. Partial imitation measures. Mallet aggression, hitting something other than the Bobo with the mallet. Sitting on the Bobo doll non-aggressively. Then there's also non-imitative aggressive measures, like punching the Bobo doll, slapping it, pushing it, etc. Non-imitative physical and verbal aggression, basically any aggressive act that was not performed by the model. And aggressive gunplay, shooting the dart guns or imaginary shots at objects. Also, the number of times that the participant was playing non-aggressively or sitting quietly was also recorded. The results, lots of results. Complete imitation of the model. Regarding complete imitation of the model, more physical and verbal aggression in the aggressive model group. Non-imitative aggression, being in the aggressive model group didn't increase non-imitative aggression. Partial imitation, non-aggressive model group decreased mallet aggression, especially in girls. In the aggressive model group and control group, mallet aggression significantly higher in girls versus the non-aggressive model group. Sitting on the Bobo doll was also more frequent in the aggressive model group versus the other two groups. So we can see that partial imitation of aggressive behaviors was much higher in the aggressive group. The sex of the participant / model. Boys were more likely to imitate physical aggression than girls. Girls were more likely to imitate verbal aggression than boys, though it's not statistically significant. The male model had a greater effect on participant behavior than the female model overall, and the non-aggressive male model reduced aggression more than the control group, which didn't have a non-aggressive male model, obviously. Same-sex models. More imitation after viewing same-sex model than opposite-sex model. Highest imitative aggression in boys who viewed a male model, more than girls who viewed the same model, who viewed a same-sex model. Girls were more verbally aggressive and more non-imitative aggressive than boys when viewing a female aggressive model. Non-aggressive behavior. Girls, Jesus Christ, sorry. I was just thinking about the fact that you have to know all this stuff. Thing is, you don't have to know all this stuff, okay? So if you're seeing this and you're like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to remember all this bullshit? Not really. You can get by with just knowing the summary of the ideas here, of what can be seen, of the main things. Obviously, figuring out what the main things are is hard, because it doesn't really tell you. I mean, if you watch my, I'm gonna upload a summary of the whole chapter summary, right? So when you watch that, you'll see the summary for this, right? For what's it called? Summary for Jesus Christ, for Bandura et al. And in the results part, it'll give a summary, and so it might include some of the more important stuff, less important, you know, right? It'll leave out the less important stuff. But really, you can't tell until you just do past papers and grind out past papers, and then you'll get an idea of what they want you to know about and what they don't care for you to know about. So, yeah. Alright, continuing. Non-aggressive behavior. Girls spent more time on the tea set and dolls. Boys spent more time with the gun. Non-aggressive model increased time playing quietly with dolls, and the non-aggressive model doubled time spent sitting quietly. Conclusions. Observing an aggressive model can lead to imitative aggression. Boys are more likely to imitate same-sex models than girls are. Girls are slightly more likely to imitate verbal aggression, while boys are way more likely to imitate physical aggression. Male model behavior. Yeah, just dropped my phone. Sorry. Male model behavior is more likely to be imitated than female model behavior. Okay, almost there. Evaluation, ethics, weak. Physical harm. This is a weakness. Risk to children. Children are the most vulnerable. Witnessing aggressive behavior. Possible imitation of aggression even after the study, and possible aggressive state of mind even after the study. That's bad. Methodological issues. Strength. Strength, increasing reliability, standardization, standardized procedure and instructions, same toy layout, play length, frustration from the aggression, arousal, and behavioral checklist every 5 seconds for each kid, right? And so this increases the reliability of the findings and also makes the study replicable. Another strength, increasing reliability, is inter-observer reliability. Half of the trials had 2 observers record the participant's behavior. The correlated results were always 0.90 plus, and this ensures reliable scoring of behaviors. Strength, reliability, inter-rater reliability. Strong correlation between researcher and nursery teacher aggressive scoring. Is always above 0.89 plus, and this ensures reliable aggression ratings. Strength, validity, matched aggression scores. I keep almost saying aggregate. Sorry, I'm an econ class taker. My apologies. So strength, increasing validity, is the matched aggression scores. As we talked about before, there is random allocation from 3 groups to different aggression levels. This increases the validity of findings, as the individual differences in aggression didn't create differences between the groups. Weakness, reducing validity, is that they use the same models every time. This makes it possible that the models were imitated more or less due to individual features and not their sex. This is a confounding variable which limits the validity of the results. Objectivity and subjectivity. Strength, use of quantitative data, more objective comparisons between groups, data collected via a structured checklist. The comparison of numerical data reduces researcher bias and increases validity. Weakness is that the main observer was the male model himself, therefore he knew all the children from his groups. This increases the subjective interpretation and reduces validity for all the male groups which were observed by him. On the other hand, a strength, which is the fact that oppositely or contrastingly or whatever the fuck you want to say, I don't know, my brain's not working, it was single blind for the male observer as well, because it's the opposite for the trials in which the male model was not present. He didn't know the kids, and therefore there was less or no subjective interpretation or bias, and this increases the validity in the findings for these groups. In terms of generalizations and evaluating those, both weaknesses. Generalizing beyond the sample. It's hard to generalize to lower economic backgrounds because all the participants were from the nursery of a prestigious university. Likely all had high-level educated parents and richer lives. doesn't represent the majority of kids, and a different upbringing may have also affected the validity of the results. Another weakness, generalized to everyday life. The study lacks mundane realism. It's rare to watch an adult attack a toy. They were in a laboratory setting. The Bobo doll is a Bobo doll and a toy rather than a person. It's made to be hit, and so the study can't really distinguish between real aggression and play aggression, and therefore it's hard to generalize to an everyday life scenario, or to a real life scenario. Then finally, issues and debates. The use of kids. This is always going to be here. Just so you remember, this is always going to be here. If the study used kids, issues and debates, use of kids is going to be here. And so you got to remember that. It's kind of a nice tip. So, use of kids. They used very young kids, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years old almost. Maybe not 2 years, but almost 2 years old. And so this means they're particularly vulnerable to psychological harm. The kids may think that they're expected to imitate the behavior of the models, and that reduces the validity of the findings. And also, this sensitive age makes for even more ethical issues because there's a greater risk of psychological harm and via the long-term effects of this imitation of aggression. Then, application in everyday life. You can use TV warnings. TV networks can use warnings or censorship to make sure kids don't imitate violence shown on TV. And then also in TV kids shows, they can ensure that aggressive content is to a minimum. And in terms of parents, since male models are more effective and cause more imitative behavior, then kids should be presented with positive male role models. Also, non-aggressive models reduce aggression, and so parents should provide kids with non-aggressive models. The end. Cool. Bye-bye.